Hey everybody. So I was lucky enough a little over a week ago to be able to go see Dr. Jordan B. Peterson live at the theater at SAIT in Calgary, the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. I forget the name of their theater there, but I was able to see him there. It was pretty amazing, and I just wanted to give a little review of his live show. Those of you who don't know Dr. Jordan B. Peterson or Dr. Jordan Peterson, you should really check him out. Just look up some of his stuff. He's done some amazing things. He's a psychologist here in Canada, university professor, and very well known worldwide. And he is very much of the belief that we are creating weak men in our society right now, and that we need to go back to a more moral state of society, and we need to get men back to being men and being strong, and we need to stop trying to make them feminine or effeminate, and we need to, with suicide rates what they are in men today, we need to let them go back to being what they're meant to be, which is strong providers, protectors, and such. So he's written a couple of books. I've actually got both of them. I haven't actually read these yet, but I do have them. They're on my list. I have a list a mile long of books to read, but these ones are right up there. Right now I'm reading Man Up by Bedros Killian, and then after that I'll be moving on to Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's books. His first book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. His second book is Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life. So basically it's his ideas on how one should live their life. I'm going to read the rules off to you. I'm not going to go into them. They're very interesting. I really can't wait to read these books, which I'm not reviewing right now. I'm reviewing his live performance only, which is, like I said, pretty amazing. But I will read off the rules to you. So his first book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. Rule number 1 is stand up straight with your shoulders back. Rule number 2 is treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Rule number 3 is make friends with people who want the best for you. Rule number 4 is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Rule number 5 is do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Rule number 6 is set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Rule number 7 is pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Rule number 8 is tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Rule number 9, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Rule number 10 is be precise in your speech. Rule number 11, do not bother children when they are skateboarding. I can't wait to see what that one's about. Rule number 12, pet a cat when you encounter one in the street. Also can't wait to see what that one's about. Very interesting. That'll be my next book after the one I'm reading right now. Time's very hard to come by for me. I'm very busy between work and doing this and going to the gym. I really do try to read as much as I can. I believe reading's very important. So, time is not on my side in a lot of ways, especially with what I'm trying to create here. So, but I'm getting through it as fast as I can, and as soon as I read these, I will review each of these as I read them. So his newest book, Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life. This is the book he's on tour for right now. So let's read off the rules here. Rule number 1. Do not carelessly denigrate social institutions. Ooh, got a little bit of thunder going on. Do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement. Rule number 2. Imagine who you could be and then aim single-handedly at that. Rule number 3. Do not hide unwanted things in the fog. Rule number 4. Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. Rule number 5. Do not do what you hate. Rule number 6. Abandon ideology. Rule number 7. Work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens. Rule number 8. Try to make one room in your home as beautiful as possible. Rule number 9, if old memories still upset you, write them down carefully and completely. Rule number 10, plan and work diligently to maintain the romance in your relationship. Rule number 11, do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant. And rule number 12, be grateful in spite of your suffering. I can already tell you the wisdom in just the rules without seeing the explanations behind them is amazing. If you just lived as hard as you could by those rules, I believe you would have a solid life, a good life. These rules, from what I'm seeing so far, are just, right on point. I can't wait to get into the books. The books are, the rules, each rule is a chapter, and they're an explanation of them. I will be getting into them soon, like I said. As for seeing him live, though, so what he did, his wife came on for the first gentleman to come on, I don't remember his name. He's from England. He's a guitar player, and he played classical guitar and some rock and roll. And it was just him playing the guitar, no singing or anything. The man was amazing. It was so good. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It's not what I was expecting at all, but I found myself actually really, really, entrenched in it. I was enjoying it quite a bit. And then Dr. Peterson's wife came on. And she spent 10 minutes talking a little bit, and she chose one of the rules. Basically, what he did was he talked about 2 rules during his talk. It was about 2.5 hours total. And the 2 rules that he talked about, she picked one, and I believe he picked one. The rule that she picked was the rule that she picked was work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens. And she talked about how she had followed that rule when it came to parenting. And she talked a bit about that. She was very interesting as well, a very interesting woman. I didn't know that she was actually diagnosed with cancer and given 6 months to live at one point. And apparently that was a ways back, and she's still around. So, she's doing really well, and she speaks very well. She speaks very clearly, concisely, and she's a pretty good public speaker in her own right. So she did about the first 10 minutes, and then Dr. Peterson came on, and he spoke about that rule as well. And then he also spoke about another rule, rule number 3, do not hide unwanted things in the fog. Now, when you see Dr. Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson, when you see him on YouTube or TikTok, a lot of times what you're getting is just a little snip or a sound bite or something that sounds good in an under a minute or 30 seconds, just a little clip, something that's going to grab your attention. And he's really good at that. He's really good at coming up with these little clips. One thing when you see him live, though, when he has time and it's just him speaking, interviews are different too, because he's answering questions or he's asking questions, so it's a back and forth. But when you actually see him speak, and it's only him, and he's allowed to speak at length on a topic of his choosing, it's very interesting to watch him. His mind is you could see his mind working while he was on stage, and I almost don't believe that he had a written down a script or anything. He might have had bullet points that he was following, but I don't believe that he had a script that he was following. I believe because it looked like he was working things out in his own mind as he was speaking them out on stage, and it was very interesting to watch his mind work. And interestingly enough, too, so he would come out and he'd be like, he would say, okay, we're gonna talk about this rule number 3: do not hide unwanted things in the fog. And then he would start talking about it, and then he would go, oh, and there's this, and he would move to a different point, and then he would go on that for a bit, and then he would go, oh, and there's this, and you're thinking, okay, well, he's going from point to point, like it seems almost flighty, right? But then, he's talking on that for a while, and you're like, okay, well, he's just following his mind. We're just hearing what his mind has inside of it, and he's just following it where it wants to go. And then he spoke on it. Like I said, he was up there for 2.5 hours. And And then towards the end of his point, he'd been going for a long time now and he's covered several different things. And then towards the end of his point, he would go, and this is how we tie all this together. And he would tie that whole thing, all those different topics he was just talking about, he ties them in all into one. And you're like, whoa, he was talking about that topic the whole time. He was just branching off into these other things that were included in it and then bringing them in to show us how they're involved. And the amount of the mental ability that is required to think or speak that way is massive, because most people would lose their train of thought, and 3/4 the way through they would not even remember what they were talking about at all. But he had it inside his head. This was the web, and this is this is this piece of the web, 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 and then let's pull the camera back and look at how it's all involved, how it's all connected. And it was just amazing. And that's something you don't see when you see him on YouTube or on TikTok, because he doesn't have the ability to go at length like that. But yeah, just amazing. He talked a lot about work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens, which is, that's something I've been pushing out there for, since I started doing this. My belief is that you pick one thing and you work at it until you've got it beat, and then you pick another thing and you work at it until you've got it beat, and that's how you really make progress. And that's really close to this. It's really close to the same idea. And this other point, do not hide unwanted things in the fog. He talks a lot about how we have things in our lives that, we don't want to deal with because they're uncomfortable. So we take those and we don't forget about them. We don't throw them away, but what we do is we take them and we put them in the fog, where we can't really see them anymore, so they don't really feel like they're a problem anymore. But those problems don't go away. They still need to be dealt with. So if you take that thing that you're uncomfortable with and you put it in the fog, it never gets dealt with, and it bites you. It bites you later on down the road. And it's far more beneficial to not put that thing in the fog, to keep it out in the light and to deal with it. He went on to several other things too. The difference between good and evil. Dr. Peterson is a religious man, and you can tell when you see him speak. And he ties it in quite well with his scientific thinking. And whatever your thoughts on religion are, as a way of speaking to psychological workings, it's very good way to express the way that psychology and the human mind works. So no matter what your thoughts on religion are, it is a great way of putting it together in a way that we can see it better, and also it there's a lot of universal truths in a lot of religions, and so that it is something that should probably be kept in the topic of conversation. So he speaks a lot about that, Dante's Inferno, the pits of hell, how every level of hell is worse and worse until you get to absolute evil, and absolute evil is just horrible. And he speaks of encountering absolute evil in the world, and the levels of good in the world. And he speaks a lot about how we need to start being a lot more careful about how we treat our men in this society. That we need strong men. That not allowing a society with strong men, making a society with weak, effeminate men is dangerous to everybody. On two fronts, it takes away our protectors, and it also takes away the people who do the work that we need done. The work that's dangerous, the work that is hard. And if we take away men's ability to be strong, then we take away their ability to do those things. weak, effeminate men are not going to pick up a gun and defend our country, or they're not going to step in front of somebody throwing fists to protect an innocent person. And we need people like that. We need that strength in our society right now more than anything. He speaks of how men are how being pushed to be effeminate like that and into feminist traits is dangerous for men. When you try to force a man to be feminine when he's built to be masculine, you create a situation where he doesn't have the ability to lead his life in a way that is at peace with his soul, really. And that causes a lot of things like suicide rates and drug abuse, and that actually creates very dangerous men, because when men are weak, they're dangerous. They're the kind who do school shootings. They have no outlet and they crack. He also speaks to the evilness of being betrayed. In your relationships, how being cheated on destroys you, and about how we need to really work on traditional family values again. Traditional family values where you've got a man and a woman and children. He kind of says that it should be the ideal that we aspire to. It doesn't mean that it's for everybody, right? There can still be gay couples and all of that, but we need to make that an ideal to aspire to, because that is the family unit that drives society and allows society to build and replenish itself. He also speaks to the dangers of got a train going by, about a block from the tracks here. I actually used to that train used to wake me up every night when I grew up here. My parents' house is just right there, and that train used to wake me up at night. Anyways, going into history there. He speaks to how the politics of transgenderism and gender politics are destroying a piece of our society too, and that we need to just get away from those politics. He doesn't go against the people who are in those situations on a personal level, but just that we need to stop trying to make those things normal. And I mean normal in the case where, it's just we expect people to be like that. It's okay for somebody to be transgender. It's okay for somebody to be gay. It's not okay to try to push that on our society, because that is creating a weakness and a schism between us, and that is dangerous to us in the long run. It doesn't mean that there's nothing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with transgender people or gays. But this gender politics thing, it's really destroying a piece of our society, and it's causing people to fight that wouldn't normally fight. It's causing so many issues in our society that don't need to be there. So he also talks about how transgenderism is almost destroying gay culture. That he said 80%, and now these are clinical statistics that he pulled out, and he would be the man to know the clinical statistics. He said that 80% of transgenders, several years down the road after changing over sexes, regret it and wish that they hadn't done it in the first place, and realize now that they weren't really transgender, they were only gay, but it's too late to go back. And that speaks a lot towards where we're pushing things. Those things are happening because we're pushing our society in that direction, and it's not really supposed to go there, so we're creating these situations. Now, imagine going through all that, having a sex change, and a couple years down the road realizing, okay, I didn't really need to do all that. I'm just a gay. I'm gay. And that's that is that would be horrible. There's no going back. Like, you can do a sex change one way. You don't really get to go the other direction. You don't get to change your mind. So he speaks a lot about that, and some in politics too. He's a strong believer in conservative politics, which I am as well. You can probably tell. I imagine most of the people watching this are also conservative to some level as well, and that we need to really fight against the left, the liberal governments in place. They've really gone too far left, and we're really fighting against a group of people who are so far left that there's no give in them, and there's no give and take, and it's just we're really entering into a state of fascism almost with the way the liberals these days are trying to run government and politics. And it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. We used to have this situation, this is me speaking now, not Jordan Peterson. We used to have this situation in Canada, maybe a decade before Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister right now. We used to have this situation in Canada where the Liberal Party, we had Liberals and Conservatives, right? The Liberal Party was center left, and the Conservative Party was center right. And then we had the NDP over on the left a little more, but they were more of a workers' party, almost like communist, but nobody ever votes for them. No, they never get into power, so it's not really a big deal. But now we've reached a situation where the Liberal Party has gone way off to the left, and the Conservative Party has had to balance that by going further right. And you reach this situation where there's no middle ground anymore. We used to have it, the two parties were so close to the center that there were almost like, there were differences between them, but if you voted the wrong party in, it wasn't going to be a disaster. It was, they were both around the center on most things. So you could live with the other party. Now, like I said, the Liberals have gone so far left that having them in power again may just mean the destruction of our country. And that is a sad situation, and something that needs to be fought against. At any rate, he talks about that politics. Talks about something that he's building right now. He talked about the Alliance of Responsible Citizens, I believe it's called. You can look that up. It's not anything you can join yet, but it's a group of politicians and influential people around the world who are trying to build a group of people who are going to fight towards freedom in government and freedom in general. And it sounds pretty interesting, and I'm going to keep my eyes on that. I'm going to sign up you can sign up to be able to find out, to get updates, but you can't join this movement yet. But it sounds very interesting, something that I'm going to keep an eye on. And at any rate, that's most of what he talked about. It took him a lot longer to talk about it because he is, wow, his mind is amazing. When you see him work, when you see him think through a point, it is just, it's like watching music. It's like watching music happen. His mind is so amazing. One of the greatest minds of our time, for sure. And it was an honor to be able to see him live and to hear him. And if I get the chance, I'm definitely going to do it again. Yeah, amazing. If you have the chance, you should definitely get out to see him live. Like I said, you can see a part of him when he's got that much time to talk on a point. You can see a part of him that you don't see anywhere else. And it is quite striking what his mind is capable of and how he has the ability to think things through. Astonishing, really. The man is a genius, and I'm happy that I got to see him. Tickets were expensive. I think we're about $300. That's Canadian, give or take. But of course, you had to buy them from a ticket reseller, because that's the way the ticket industry works now. It's just a crazy cash grab. They sell straight to the ticket resellers, and they resell at a profit, and and that really sucks. But there's probably about, I think there's probably about 5,000 people there. It seemed like it was a huge theater, and he packed it pretty good, and he did a great job, and everybody, like, standing ovations, everybody's clapping. He was very, very good. very good. And if you get the chance, and you have the ability, I would 100% recommend going to see Dr. Jordan B. Peterson speak live. It is, it really brought up something inside of me and really, affirmed what I'm trying to do here and what I'm trying to build, both for myself and for what I'm trying to put out there into the universe to try to help make society better. Doing things like this, there's doubts inherent in this sometimes, and it's a fight to keep yourself focused at times, and seeing him and listening to him really helped me refocus on the bigger picture. And if anything, he is worth seeing just for that, because I guarantee he will do the same thing for you. So yeah, that's my review of seeing Dr. Jordan B. Peterson live. If you get the chance, please go see him. He is amazing, and you will not regret it. I 100%, 2 thumbs up, recommend it. Go see him. Okay. And on that note, I hope you're all treating each other well, and you're all building your lives, and you're all helping each other build each other's lives. And I hope we're all working towards a better future for us, our loved ones, for one and all. All right? I love you guys.